Hi, I am just hopping on here really quick to share with you a low prep reading activity. And when I say low prep, I mean you have a reading that your students can use, and you've given them a sheet of paper, or maybe you told them to take a sheet of paper out of a notebook. Okay, that's what I'm talking about here. So I also want to preface this with this is something I did last year pre everything happening. So depending on your school situation, your school guidelines right now, it may or may not be the best fit for you. I know some schools are fine with students sharing manipulatives as long as they wash their hands before and afterwards. And I know some teachers who are saying, like, I'm not allowed to have students move at all. So take this with a grain of salt. It might be perfect for you right now, and maybe it's going to be something that you put on your back burner for when things are hopefully more normal sometime in the future. So here we go. I call this activity Tabata Timeline, and it's mostly because I like alliteration, but also because that's what it is. So here's what you need to do. You need to have a reading, and I like to print off the sheet for my students, but like I said at the beginning, you could just have them take out a sheet of paper, and you are going to have students divide that sheet of paper into 9 boxes. So I just have them fold, 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 fold. Or like I said, I just print off a sheet that's got 9 boxes for them. And then I tell them, okay, you need to write 9 events that happen in the story. And it could just be like, there's a kid. The kid wants a dog, right? 9 things that happen in the story. And there's a few variations, but I'll talk about those at the end. So then on the other side of the paper, so not on the side where they wrote all of the events, the other side of the paper, in each box, they're going to write their name. Don't skip this step, because otherwise you'll have papers everywhere and you won't know who belongs to whom, okay? It's a mess because, children. But, okay, so they've written 9 events on one side and they wrote their name on each of the boxes on the other side. Then you have your students cut the boxes apart. So now every student has a copy of their reading and 9 boxes of events sitting on their desk, okay? Have the students scramble the events around. Then you're going to have students move to a different location. And usually when I'm introducing this to students, or I should say when I was introducing this to students, right, in the past, I would do like a predetermined path. Like, okay, so this row is all moving this way, this row is moving that way, then this way, right? Make sure they know where they're going, otherwise, disaster, okay? So every kid takes their copy of their reading and they leave the events, the little pieces, on the desks. Then they're going to go to a new station and they're going to use their reading and look at the events a different student has written, and they're going to put those events in order. That's the timeline piece. Okay, so where does the Tabata part of this come in? If you're familiar with Tabata workouts, those are the ones where the timer like beeps at you and you work for a certain amount of time and then it beeps again and you get to breathe. Okay, so when I say Tabata timeline, the kids have a beep, a time, to work and to put the events in order as fast as they can. And then the timer's going to beep, and that's how much time they have to reset the desk that they were at. So they're going to re-scramble all of the events, and then they're going to rotate to the next desk. Okay, Tabata timeline. So I personally like to start with 1 minute of work and 6 seconds of rest. And that rest, again, is the time that they have to reset the station and then rotate to the next desk. However, they get faster. So as they're doing this over and over again, they get to know the story better because they're reading and rereading and reading it over and over again. So they're going to start to go like, oh yeah, this event happened here and then there and then there. And so they're going to start to get faster. So I usually kind of sneakily tweak the timer as we progress through the rotations and make the work time shorter and shorter until we're down to like 35 seconds of work and then 6 seconds of rotation again. I like to give them enough time to like make sure that they've scrambled everything up, because otherwise if you don't give them enough time to rotate, the kids will just leave, and then the next kid gets there and they're like, it's already done. Like, blast it, Johnny, why didn't you rotate your stuff? Okay. All right, so that's the general setup. And if you're like, Ashley, I have no idea what you're talking about, I just finished a blog post on this, so if you're a person who prefers to get the information in a written format, that's posted on my blog. But I just thought, it could be fun to just share this. So, variations here. The first example that I shared with you is the students write 9 events. Okay, you can have them write those 9 events in Spanish or write the 9 events in English. The nice thing about having them write it in Spanish is it's kind of like a scaffolded writing activity, because they're going to look at the reading and they're going to pull chunks directly from their reading, and they're really just rewriting sentences that they're already seeing in the reading. Okay. In English, it's kind of nice for them to do because you know then they're understanding what's happening in their reading. So as they're writing, you're checking that reading comprehension. The downside to having them write the events in English is that the students are doing less checking of the story as the time goes on, because they'll start to like memorize the story, which is good. But what happens is when they rotate this in the next desk, they'll be able to really quickly read those 9 events because they're already in English, and they'll just put them in order without rereading the story. So downside, okay? If you have less time for rotations, I might do the English one, but if you're planning on doing all of your kids, I would do the Spanish events, okay? Other variation is to have them mix in some false events or some things that didn't happen. I usually give them a number, so I might have them write like 5 true things and 4 false things, or 6 and 3, or 8 and 1, or whatever it is. Have them do some true and some false. So then as the students are rotating and putting things in order, they not only have to decide when did these things happen, but did this thing happen, or is this just made up? And sometimes the kids throw in things that's like, this obviously didn't happen, and they're just kind of like screwing with each other, and that's fine. And sometimes they're like really sneaky, and the kids have to read really closely what their friend wrote before they're like, wait, that's not true. And then you hear a kid going, ah! So it's just kind of fun. Okay, I want to make sure I wrote notes, so I want to make sure I didn't forget anything. Yeah, okay. So like I said at the beginning, if you're somebody who just jumped in, this is maybe something that won't work for you in your setting, depending on your school's policies and procedures. I know everybody is in kind of a different situation right now. Maybe your school is cool with kids moving. Maybe your school is like those kids get in their desks and they stay in their desks for 8 hours. Whatever, wherever you're at, I know everybody's in a different situation. Again, I wrote a whole blog post out on how to do this. So I know that was like just a really fast walkthrough, but hopefully you get the idea. Again, super low prep. You just need a reading and your kids just need a piece of paper. You could give them, I have a printed version of this activity that you can download if you want. And then it has all the instructions for them. Sometimes it's kind of nice if they're new to an activity to have a sheet that's printed so that they're like, this is what I'm doing. But usually if you've done the activity a few times, you can be like, hey, we're doing this. And then they're like, okay, cool. And they're really easy at just setting it up. So if you have any questions about this or you're not sure what I'm talking about, feel free to drop a comment below and I will do my best to help you out. Otherwise, you can see the full version of the activity and all of the variations and things that I talked about over on my blog, señoritaspanish.com. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.